Hi everybody, welcome back. In this video we're going to be going over how to start the game, also known as the 4 principles of chess. Now when you're starting to play the game there's so many things to learn, but if you follow these 4 things it actually makes it a little bit more easier on how to start. So the first thing that we try to do at the beginning of the game is to try to control these 4 squares. These are what we call the center squares. In order to control these 4 squares you can try to maybe move your pawn in front of the king, or you can try to move the pawn in front of the queen. And then we are going to be starting the game this way. A lot of times beginners they try to maybe move a pawn over here, or maybe a pawn over here, or even a pawn on the f-file. Even though those are fine moves, they're actually not going to be very good compared to what we can actually do instead. We can try to get control of the center this way, and black should probably do the same if they want to get some space here too. Now, if you have seen like a lot of chess videos, you might see like there's some moves like pawn c5, moves like pawn c6, or even like pawn g6. Now these moves aren't really controlling the center right away, but the basic premise is that they will be attacking white's center in some sort of in the future, right? So this is a little bit more advanced for beginners, but first I would recommend you to try to get control of the center the same way. And after we have some space in the center, it is time to what we call develop our pieces. At the beginning of the game we try to develop the minor pieces, which are the knights and the bishops. Afterwards, later on, we try to develop the queen and the rooks. Those are what we call major pieces. So a lot of times, if you want to develop your knights, we try to go to here, we try to go to c3, and the knights will be going again towards the center. Center is very strategic in chess, and we definitely want to control these 4 squares. For example, instead, if you move your knight to h3, even though this seems like a good square for the knight is going towards the side of the board. And if you look, the knight cannot go to f4 successfully because of this pawn. The knight cannot go to g5 successfully because of the queen. So even though the knight is getting into the game, it is quite useless right now. The only square the knight can actually go is all the way towards the back, which is not really doing much. So that's why we try to bring our knight to f3. Maybe black will try to do the same thing. And now if you want, you can continue developing your other knight, or you can try to move out the bishop. So if we move the knight to c3, maybe they'll move their knight to f6. And now both white and black developed their knights. And if you look at the board, now we have 4 knights in the game, active, doing something. This knight is attacking that pawn. The opponent's knight protects it, so we can't capture. The black knight is attacking our pawn, but our knight is protecting it, so they can't capture successfully, and the position is equal. This is actually what we call the 4 knights opening, because we right now have 4 knights in the game. After the knights, we can try to move out the bishops. The opponent can try to do the same thing. And now we're going to moving into our 3rd principle. The 3rd principle is going to be based on the king, but it doesn't only apply to the king, it applies to all of the pieces. And it is about protection. We want to protect all our pieces, especially the king, and the easiest way to do this is to do a castle at the beginning of the game. That's why when you're playing an opening, like if you're playing the Italian opening, within like the first 7-8 moves, you usually do a castle, you put the king away, the rook is now getting in towards the game, and it's going to be much easier for white to try to plan an attack. So far the first principle is trying to control the center like this. The second principle is developing our minor pieces, and then the major pieces, right? The knights and the bishops are the minor pieces. The 3rd principle is king safety. Black should probably do the same thing as well. And now we can try to develop our bishop, which we haven't moved at all. And then maybe the opponent will try to do the same thing. They're copying us right now. If the position exactly happens like this, there are some sort of attacks that white can actually try to take advantage of. Right now our bishop is pinning the opponent's knight, because if the knight moves, we can try to capture the queen, right? So we can try to make a plan, which is going to be our 4th principle. If we bring our knight to d5, we are going to be putting pressure on the opponent's knight on f6. If they try to capture our knight, that's a terrible move. That's going to be a blunder because now their queen is free to take. Technically not free because they can still use their rook to capture us, but then you can capture that. So white is going to be in a much better position. So these are the 4 principles. The last principle is going to be making a plan, and you can do these 4 steps at any stage of the game in order to come up with some good moves, right? Like if you want to develop your pieces, but your piece is not really doing anything in the back, it will be a good idea to try to move it to somewhere useful. And if you follow these principles, it actually makes it much more easier when you are starting the game. Once you master like some easy openings, like not really easy because every opening has a lot of depth to it. They have been practiced for like 300, 200 years. So once you like get comfortable with those openings, you can actually move on to some what we call romantic era chess openings, like trying to attack the center from far away. Like even though we care so much about the center, for example, there's something that we call the Elokins defense, in which black moves the knight to here and not control the center. So white can try to like attack that knight. And then the knight goes to here. If you want, you can keep attacking the knight as well. Usually white pushes the pawn to d4 to connect these pawns. However, if you keep attacking the opponent's knight, our pawn structure will be a little bit too open. And like if we do that, we have 3 pawns in the center, but black will try to disrupt white's pawn structure. And then there are going to be so many holes in the back for black to try to exploit. That's why, like, even though we care so much about the center, there are different ways of approaching the center. But for now, definitely focus on trying to equalize in the center. This way, gain some extra space, and then move out your pieces. That's going to be a very, very good idea, right? We can try to bring out the 4 knights. The bishops can come out. We can go to c4, or we can go to b5. Usually b5. And now we're playing the 4 knights opening, the Spanish variation. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.